Hi, everybody. Thanks for being here. I want to speak briefly about media literacy, not just as a separate discipline in itself, but as a crucial part of the editorial process. We've looked at it for the last few years as something driven by studies and academics, and I'd love to see it more as part of the media itself, part of the editorial process. We've been looking at it kind of as something that's added on and slightly separate from our processes, and allotting specific time and space to talk about it and deal with it. But I think it's important for it to be ever present in the way that we present our work. There are lots of high quality resources out there. There's some fantastic people teaching media literacy. And I think it's important that we leverage these people's experience and expertise and ask them for their help in putting this into the editorial process and making it part of the everyday environment in the newsroom. So why should we change? Well, the main reason is because the environment we work in has changed. We're no longer operating in a vacuum. There's so much access to online information and to online means of spreading information. And there are powerful players out there, up to state level actors, who are working hard to undermine the message that you put out there and undermine your very credibility as media. Because when it comes to producing good and effective journalism, it's not enough for us just to be doing good work. We need to be sure that our audience is properly understanding what we're doing. So I would suggest that we ask ourselves specific questions on every significant story that we produce. First of all, how are people likely to perceive this story? How are they likely to misperceive or misunderstand it? Do we know the environment in which it's going out? Are there particular disinformation efforts on this issue? Are there memes? Do we understand these and how they work? And are we effectively addressing them in our story? I'm not talking about features on how to spot fake news, how to understand the news, and so on. And I'm not talking about going and talking to students for half an hour or an hour every month. These are important too, but I'm talking about bringing this into our newsrooms as a part of the editorial workflow, integrating it into everything we do with a significant story, and also trying to promote news literacy among our audience by being conscientious about this and having a news literacy angle where possible on pretty much every story we do. So how can we actually do this? One way would be to train and develop our reporters and our editors in making this happen. We could also, for example, introduce a role for at least a while anyway, that involves monitoring the stories and improving the news literacy angle on a daily basis. Personally, I would lean more toward the former because this would make sure that it's something that's ongoing and that it survives. Whereas with a specific role in a newsroom, we've seen this with things like standards editors, audience editors, and so on, that when the cutbacks inevitably come, these people are generally the first to be out the door. And if we depend entirely on them to advance this part of our editorial process, that leaves with them. So can we do it in such a way that it will survive and develop long-term within our newsrooms? So that's basically it from me, but I would be fascinated to hear about any ideas you may have, any questions, or whether you may already be doing something similar to this in your newsroom. Here's where you can get in touch with me. Thank you very much for your time.